Well, as we said in communications and military, it must have been an operator headspace. This morning, what we're going to talk about in the Sunday school lesson is we've recently had some people go on, I guess you would call this a mission trip. We went down to Camp Caudle. How many people know where Camp Caudle is? Okay, I got three. Okay, about a third or so. Okay, it's in the middle of nowhere. It is north of Dover, Arkansas, up near Scottsville, and it joins the Illinois Bayou, which is a real pretty pristine water that comes through there, drains all the mountains in the national forest up there. Camp Caudle started out years and years ago. There was a CCC camp there. And for you young folks, that's Civilian Conservation Corps. Back during the Depression, after the Depression, they had people who actually went out and did jobs and worked for the government. Yeah, they actually worked back then. You didn't just get a check, you had to work for it. And novel idea. They did all kind of projects, and then it became defunct, and Mr. Caudle owned the land, and then basically a couple of ladies from the West Side congregation in Russellville. One of those happens to be Tracy Taylor's wife. Tracy's the big tall guy that comes here and his wife from West Side. They said, wouldn't it be nice if we had a camp that was closer than some of the ones up in northwest Arkansas and so forth. So they were instrumental in getting the ball rolling to get Camp Caudle purchased. And then from there, it's slowly grown, and buildings have been added and so forth. And you can see, if you'll look through some of those slides that are on there, you can see a little about it. It was a really old camp, and when Delvin and I attended West Side, and the camp was going back then, and some of you who went down there 2 years ago now, there were little bitty rock cottages that weren't very big and weren't very nice with bunk beds. And that's where the staffers stayed, and that's where even the kids stayed for some time. But Camp Caudle is a really, really nice location in that it's so out in the middle of nowhere to be that close to Russellville and the interstate and those kinds of things. It is a good church camp. How many of you in here have been to a church camp? Let me just see your hands. Okay, about a third, almost half. Well, that's good. Remember when you went to church camp? You remember, I'm an old guy now, and I still remember going to church camp. I remember who I went with. I remember where it was. I remember what we did. It's a memorable thing. So church camps play a lot greater role than a lot of us sometimes think they do. And we need to make sure that we don't forget them as we're looking to support, especially our young people. We want to have the camps available, and then we want to, as much as possible, send our young people. So there's the old rock cottages that a bunch of us stayed in. And we want to send our young people, and then not only do we want to send them there to go through as campers, as much as possible, we want to send our teenagers or young college-age people as well to be counselors, because there's a huge need right now of counselors at Camp Caudle and other church camps around the country. A lot of teenagers today are, hey, I got to go get a job, I got to work, I got something, that's more important than going to church camp and so forth. We've had a lot of our younger people from here attend Camp Caudle and go as counselors. And we would love to see any in the future. So if you have a teenager or you know a teenager that might be interested, we've got the telephone names and numbers of the people down there that are selecting those folks. And they're constantly looking for people to go and be counselors. Really, really need for teenagers who are strong in the faith to mentor the young folks. You can see there's what's called the amphitheater. In the morning they get everybody together. Right there at the bottom I see Hannah sitting here right next to the corner. So yeah, we have young people there. They get together and that kind of thing, report about what they did yesterday. They're broken up in different groups and so forth. It's a really good experience to get started there. Okay, well, we went down. I say we. There were about 7 or 8 of us that went down from both the congregation at Yellville and here. As much as possible, I think we need to, as churches of Christ, need to support other congregations and get other congregations to assist us. A lot of the congregations are quite small and are not able to do things on their own. When we went to Dover, for example, a couple of years ago to work at Camp Caudle, we went to the Dover Church, and there we did a vacation Bible school and a gospel meeting. We had 2 other real small congregations came there and went to the gospel meeting for the nights that we had it. And that was the first time those three congregations had ever done anything together that anybody can remember. But now, 2 years later, those congregations are still getting together once a month and singing, and they're still communicating and so forth. And it's inevitable. The two smaller of the congregations, one only had about 12 members, one had about 25. Those congregations are shrinking, going away. If they're going to go away, those people need a place to go. They need somebody there to rely on. There's some of the kids and stuff, smiling faces, some of the fun stuff they do. But that's the mud pit. Yeah. They had, what is it they had in there, Roger? Golf balls in the mud pit. And kids find the golf balls for points for your house, for your team, your cabin. So it's a pretty fun thing to do. Okay, but this year, because last year they didn't have the camps there to generate revenue and stuff, this year they had a tremendous need for a lot of things to be done. Things sort of went downhill as far as facilities and so forth. So in talking to them down there, they said, sure, can you bring as many people as you can bring, we'll find stuff for them to do. When we left there on Thursday, the ones of us that were there Thursday, they still had things that need to be done, but a lot of things had been done on the list. So if you would, Caleb, put in that thumb drive, and we'll show you what we did this year. And I'm going to let these gentlemen up here help me and tell what they did, because I don't know what everybody did. It was one of those things where we had people working one place and people working another. Yes.
I know they have year-round staff there. How do they fund Lee Vincent? And I know that he's kind of head of it. How is that funded?
Well, I think the primary oversight of that is the Westside congregation in Russellville. Westside now has about 450 to 500 members, but a lot of people support the church, the camp down there besides them, but they are primarily responsible for the oversight. And through donations. And the camp itself. They have retreats and stuff on the weekends, even through the 9 months of the year that there's not camps. There are churches that go there for men's retreats and women's retreats and all kinds of things like that. All right, this is what's called the lodge. Danny, pass them that microphone there and tell us what you were doing, please. On the bottom. Is the light on? Yeah, it should be.
This is a place where the council stayed. It had a couple bathrooms, some living quarters in it, and the siding was put on several years ago, and they didn't have any gutters on it. So the water splashed up on the building, and it rotted out to the bottom layers of siding on both sides where the water dripped off the edge, and we had to replace that. And they had some siding in storage from where they had put it on originally, and so Lee, the guy in the gold shirt there, he and I took it off, and we put new siding around the bottom of that on both sides of that. And there were some other areas that didn't have any siding at all, that never had siding, and we put siding on that as well. But that's about all that I did on the lodge, was help put that siding on. Next slide.
There we go.
There was the other areas there that the other guy in the shirt was Stacy Davenport from Yellow, and he's putting the siding in the areas up there that had never had siding before above that window. And there's another area we put new siding on that, and just a lot of rotted siding that we replaced. There's the new siding that we put on above the windows on each side. I don't know where's that at?
That's the house.
Flooring in the house of the guy that is the new assistant to Lee, and we put new floors in 2 or 3 bedrooms and closets in that house on Tuesday. We didn't have room in the house; they were already living there, and So we had to put everything through the windows, and we cut everything outside and then passed it through the windows and installed it. And I just did a little bit and got a couple of pictures, and then the rest of the time I sit down and watched everybody else. Supervising, I believe is what. And that's Lee, right. And there's Stacy again, cutting outside and cutting to go inside.
There's Dane cheesing it for the camera.
Yeah, Dane was just, I think we need to get somebody else on this mic.
As Holly said, there's two houses. If you've never been to Camp Cole, there's two houses there that are residences. One of those is the person that's been there the longest, and that is Lee Henson. Lee, I don't think Lee is from this area, but he married one of the Shipman girls from Marion County, and they live down there, they and their children. He's been associated with the camp now for many, many years. In addition, they have a new guy who just came from the Christian home in Morrilton. His name is Marcus. Slow down just a second on the slides, please. Marcus is there now to assist, and Marcus is taking part of the duties not only of some of the light maintenance stuff, but Marcus is also in getting together the counselors for the summer sessions and all that kind of stuff, while Lee actually sets the overall session up and plans the day-to-day activities and those kinds of things. There is plans for this year, for the first time, to have a full-time maintenance person there in the summer, and then they rely on volunteers through the summer to come in and cook in the dining facility, and counselors obviously to come in and do a lot of things. But it's a big operation, especially this time of year with the grass and stuff growing. There's an awful lot of things that have to be done. This is an old house that's been there for a long time. The new couple just moved in with a new baby, and they had flooring that already started in the house. So I think pretty much everybody that was there that day got in on that project. The thing you don't realize if you're not involved sometimes in doing some of this stuff, the young man who lives here, he and his father-in-law had done the third bedroom. This is a 3-bedroom house, and I think it was 3 days for them to do the third bedroom. And when we pulled in down off the hill, from the time we finished, it was about 3 hours. We did 2 bedrooms and 3 closets in that short period of time. Let's see. Is Jay here? Jay Jones? Jay was there with us. That's Jay up on the roof, and Lee. Lee Henson and Lee Davenport both. Lee Davenport there in the middle with his back to us was the one primarily responsible. He's the best roofer probably of the crew. And they jumped up there and knocked out a new roof. Jay's cutting shingles and stuff for him there, and Lee Henson is supervising. The lodge, the old building that's up on top where the counselors stayed and where we stayed in small cabins and had shower rooms in the back and everything. You can see the finished roof looks really nice now. That lodge was getting run down. As Danny said, they replaced siding around the bottom that was rotted in the roof. Lee told me later in the week as we were visiting that they had a bid of Camp Cole for somebody to come in and put the siding on, which they already had, and to re-roof this. They had a bid of $5,000 for somebody from the outside to come and do it. We were able to do it in about a day and 3 hours, I guess, and they were only out about $1,200 to $1,500 for shingles for supplies. So we saved them several dollars with the expertise that was there. So that's the new roof. Next slide, please. There's some steps. There's where we needed Brian's new soon-to-be son-in-law, Aiden. Brian, tell them what we did there.
So going down to a lot of the activities at the camp are right along the bank of the Illinois Bayou River, or bayou, I guess. But we tried to figure out the definition of a bayou, so, but it's not a river, it's a bayou. And so walking down to the bayou, there were some really nice rock steps that were made out of rock from that area. And you can imagine, of course, it just being outdoors in the rain, they probably have to maintain these every year. But like Mike was saying, since they didn't have camp last year, a few of the steps had gotten washed out. And so we were able to find a lot of the rocks that used to be there and pull them back up the hillside. But I think we had the rock steps in pretty good shape after, after we were through. We got them all stabilized, I believe, and so we walked up and down them several times, and none of the rocks slipped, so it should be safe for kids. Yep, there's another view. So that's kind of us finding the rocks and putting them into place. And yeah, it actually looked really nice when we were done. And then we did several other things. I think down in that along the bank of the river, it had flooded. The river had gotten up at least to the level of where they do some of the activities. They have archery and tomahawk throw. Yeah, there's the target for the tomahawks. Those needed to be replaced because over time of getting hit with axe blades, they split and fall apart. So I wasn't involved in the tomahawk. I think, Danny, you cut pieces of woods for that. Yeah, so that was in pretty good shape after we were done. And let's say archery, and they have a slingshot. The BB targets, I think, down there as well. So there was a little bit of debris that had to be cleaned up.
Back that up just 2 or 3 slides, if you would, Caleb. More. There you go. Roger did work. We don't have him actually